you're able to successfully run the services, right? Yesterday, the HTTPD service, or no? Suhas, do you have the instance running? EC2 instance running?
No, sir. Actually, I didn't complete a NETSTAT class, and due to some function is there.
John, do you have the EC2 instance running?
No, sir.
Okay. See, let's do one thing. I'll quickly run this on my system, on my AWS account. That you can probably have a look at it later. So after the class is over, you can get the assignment completed from your side.
Okay, sir.
Sharing the screen. So if you look at the present working directory, your export DevOps folder must be your working directory, your home directory export DevOps. And then what I do is I go to default VPC and then just go to simple EC2 and then just deploy.sh. You can do the pipeline execution as well. Depends on how you want to do it. One is this way. I can run a /deploy.sh. You could also run just by going to default VPC, run /deploy.sh to continue further learning how to run services. So default VPC simple EC2 will create what and all it creates. It creates a EC2 instance, security group, key pair, and it pulls information like subnet and the default VPC details. So if you look at here, instance will be created, key pair will be created, security group will be created, and local file, that private key that is getting copied, that gets created, and private key SSH key will be created. Local file private key as well as the TLS private key, both. So 5 added, 0 changed, 0 destroyed. Okay. Now I have the IP address. What I do is SSH-i mykey.pem. So if you really look at it, you have mykey.pem, which is created just now. If I do ls-al, I see the mykey.pem. You are supposed to change the permission of this file. It is always better to have chmod 400 to change the permission to read only. Any doubts anybody has on this? Then the command to connect to the remote machine is ssh-i ec mykey.pem and then username ec2 user at the IP address of the machine that just got created. Okay, in order to run a particular service, what you need to do is, especially to install Apache server, you need to do a yum install httpd. Okay, Since you're running as a normal user, you have to prefix with sudo. So I'll just copy paste this command here. You can also give -y to accept the prompt. It will install the package, and after that what we need to do is we need to start the service. Sudo systemctl start httpd. Now if you want to check whether this particular service is running, sudo ps -eaf pipe grub -i httpd, so, and then it will show that it is running currently. Okay, the Apache server is currently running. If you want to check whether this particular service is accessible and what is the port it is running, sudo netstat -nlp pipe grub -i httpd. So this will tell you exactly what port it is running. Any service for that matter, if you want to put a grub and then put a particular service name, it will show you the service which is running on the system. Then what we need to do is we need to use curl command to check whether particular service is accessible. Curl localhost :80, which will show you whether the particular service is accessible locally in the network first. Then you can get the IP address of this machine and try to access it from the internet. I mean from your system, local system. So the IP address of the server is this one. So :80, we can check whether the particular server is accessible. It looks like the security group, whatever we created, is not having access to port 80. So that we can verify it here. So I'll do a Control D to come out. So I closed the connection from the remote machine. I'm currently on the local machine. You can see that simple EC2. If I open the main.tf, I'll see that security group. In the security group, we have only the ingress, which is added, not the egress. Sorry, no, ingress only for port number 22, not for port 80. So we need to add port 80 to the security group. I'm logging into the EC2 instance from AWS console. So if you go to instances running, you will see the instance which is running. Go to security, click on the security group ID. Click on edit inbound rules and add a new rule. We already have SSH, we will be adding HTTP, and we'll say anywhere IPv4 so that anywhere from anywhere within the internet we can access it. Now I save this. Now I'm going back to this particular page and refreshing. See, I automatically start getting the response from the website, that is web server, Apache web server. This is a way you run one application or web server on an EC2 instance. So now your system becomes accessible over the internet. Now this instance can be called as a, what can you call this instance now? Samrin, how this system can be called as? Suhas?
Local machine, like Linux.
So server, because it is accessible, it is a production server as of now. It's a production server because we have already installed an application. It is accessible over the internet. So when somebody says there is a production server, that means there is something which is deployed and which is accessible over the internet. So we just made this server accessible over the internet. So this particular IP address is accessible over the internet. It is not a domain as of now, but the server is accessible over the internet. That machine is accessible over the internet. That's why this service is running. Then it becomes a server. Okay, this concept is very important. Please make sure you understand this one. When the service is running on the server, on the machine, and it becomes accessible, then you can call this as a server. That means, as of now, it is a web server. Most of the times, it is a web application that you are trying to access. For example, if I go to, say, click on redbus.in, I'm able to access means that means this particular server service is running on a particular machine or a set of machines, clusters. That's why that becomes a server and that becomes accessible over the internet. That's what exactly we did just now. That is installing a particular package, starting the particular service, and making it accessible via security group. Any questions on this? Okay. Next, I'll continue running the Docker here. So if I do a Docker PS, since already Docker is installed, okay, Docker is not installed. We need to install Docker. Sudo yum install Docker. So I'll just show the command once again. What you need to do is you need to do a sudo yum install Docker. Yum is nothing but a package manager which installs particular software within your Linux operating system. Normally on Windows, what do? How do you install any software? John, how do you install anything that you want to install in Windows? You download
For the application.
exe file
For the application.
and continue with the installation process. Correct? So you need to search for a particular package, particular software. It could be anything. Say even for AWS CLI, what did you do? AWS CLI installation. You downloaded a particular software and installed it. Whereas in Linux, there is a package manager called yum. Package manager called yum that will take care of installing all the required packages, required softwares. Like that only, we just installed Docker on this machine. Any doubts on this? Okay. So if I run a Docker PS now, it will say Docker is running, but Docker is not accessible from here because Docker daemon, if you are running as a normal user, it will not be working for you. You need to do some tweaking on this. That I'll show you quickly how to do it. I'll go to CI diff project. So we have something called a Docker. In this, we need to make sure we install all these packages. We have already done it. We just need to make sure sudo user mod to make sure the user is having permissions to run the Docker. In your case, it could be username since you are running it in Windows. User may not work, or you can simply okay. It is okay. Sorry, it is on the Linux machine, right? Directly on this. Make sure you are in the right place if you are unmuting, and if you are unmuting, please speak and ask proper questions. Don't unmute yourself until it is necessary. Okay, this command will make sure this can be executed by a normal user. So you need to exit the particular session and then log in once again so that you can run the same command without any problem. If I run the Docker piece, okay, I need to make sure the Docker is running. Okay. Sudo systemctl. So the start command must be first, and then it should be docker d, mostly this one, simply docker. Okay. So now Docker is running. So if I do a Docker PS, this will work. See, this is not showing any error right now. So now we are able to pull the Docker container, Docker images, and run the Docker container. I'll give a quick intro about what is Docker and how Docker works. Then we'll take it forward. So we already saw this yesterday. That's what exactly I did it today. So we install a particular service that is HTTPD, and then we started the HTTPD, and then we tried accessing the same thing from internet. So introduction to Dockers. Say Docker is an image-based deployment where you will be bundling only the required binaries and dependencies, and then you will be putting it into the Docker Hub or any of your image registry. How many of you created Docker Hub accounts? Suhas. Okay. Hafiz. John.
No, sir.
Created Docker Hub accounts. Right? Docker Hub. So simply go here. You go to sign in page, Docker Hub. You will be prompted to log in using Google. So please make sure you just use Google to log in, Google account to log in. That itself is more than enough. So you can see that your Docker Hub account is ready, and you will see this already I have created, so I'm able to see the container images here, repositories here. If you go to explore, you will see that there are multiple container images available. Say Nginx for that matter. You can go for MySQL, anything. All the small container operating system will be available over this Docker Hub. So if you do a Docker pull simply, there is a command called a Docker pull. It is something similar to git pull. Docker pull will directly pull images from Docker Hub. Docker Hub account. That is how Docker is configured. If I say Docker pull nginx, that will pull the Docker from that we just saw. From here, it will pull the image. This official Docker image it will pull, and it will have the latest tag in it. So that you can do using Docker image ls. So nginx latest. This was created 7 days ago, not downloaded. It is just created 7 days ago. The size of the image is just 192 MB. In order to run this, I can just say docker run nginx. This may require some parameters. So it is running in the foreground as of now. If I want to run it in the background, I have to say -d. Docker run -d nginx. So if you say docker ps, you will see that nginx is running currently on port 80. So we'll just take a look into the instructions, especially the introduction. The first thing that you need to do is you need to know how to write a Docker file and how to push images to Docker Hub or how to pull images from Docker Hub. And as soon as you write a Docker file, you should know how to create Docker images and then how to run Docker containers. And you will also be creating Docker network and Docker volumes that is required to have a persistent storage. Okay. Is it fine? You guys can just start doing this particular assignment on your system, on your EC2 machine. I'll stop the recording for now.